What's up, guys, and welcome back to another edition of Competitive Edge Podcast. So today, my guest is a fellow mortgage industry leader. Not only has Ryan Grant received the 2024 Housing Vanguard Award, he's built out, co-founder and president at Neo Home Loans, which we all know in our industry. He's been an industry veteran and coach, almost funded $2 billion himself in his own production. And what I love most about Ryan is he's got 2 daughters, married, lives out in Utah, and the way that he's able to live life, have fun, but take these practices and things that I think many of us struggle with in our seasons of how do we actually do something we love to do, earn an income that provides for our family and the things that are there, but also make an impact. And I love Ryan's approach to that. We're going to unpack that. We're going to talk about some of the lead generation strategies that he has been focused on lately that I think really matter in today's market of all of us want to do more business. We want more customers. We want more referral partners. Unless we start to break this down, almost reverse engineer it, and many of us are doing the same things we've done in the past. We're going to get the same results. So today's conversation is going to be great. Grab a pen and paper, and I can't wait to jump in. So Ryan, my friend, welcome.
Brian, thank you for having me, man. It's been, I've been looking forward to this one. Obviously, I've been following you as a leader in our space for a long time, and we've had the opportunity to grow our friendship over the years through, different conversations and all the different conferences and stuff we've gone through. And so I've been a huge fan and admired the way that you've led and your humility, your vulnerability, your openness. It's been awesome to watch. So I'm excited to have this conversation just to learn more about what you're doing as well.
Dude, I appreciate it. And likewise, man, that's something I think our industry has lacked. And I'll just jump into that and start there. It's one of the things I'm the same way. Guys like you, I want to get closer with, I want to understand, yes, you may work at a different company, different jersey and all that, but what can I learn? What value can I add to you from what I'm, doing today? And then we collaborate, we share, we all go back and we go compete with our teams, and then we go help other people win. And so talk to me about that, because that's been a different approach. I think there are leaders out there, they still exist. They don't collaborate at all. They want to put down the competition. They want to do things in silos. Maybe they're just trying to do things on their own, and maybe they think they've got it all figured out. Talk to me about that. Why you lean in, because you collaborate with guys like me and many other people, how that's helped you and why you even do that.
I've just been a learner for most of my career because I realized that there's shortcuts in life, and I'm never going to have all the answers. I know that I still don't have all the answers. And so I'm always looking to people that I admire, people that I look up to, people that I think highly of, people that I respect, and just want to ask questions. Like, hey, what are you doing? How are you, navigating in this space, whether it's personal or professional? I tried to do this on my own early in my career because I just didn't know that coaching was a thing. I didn't know masterminds or that there was community. I just figured, if I want to make this work, I got to go do it. And it was hard. And we were fortunate to have success early, but it could have been much easier. I could have had a lot less speed bumps and setbacks, and I would take 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, and then I'd have to go again. And it was just because I didn't ever think to look to mentors. I didn't ever think to collaborate. I didn't ever think to put myself in the rooms of people that are doing things that I want to do. And that was just a lot of ego. And I didn't, as soon as I found out about coaching and I got into my first group, I was like, oh my God, I'm really a beginner, right? There's all sorts of levels that I'm not playing at and ways that I'm not thinking. And really since that time, I've just been really focused on surrounding myself with people that I think can help me accomplish what I want to accomplish. And I feel like I can add value to them as well.
Dude, I love that. It's similar experience, man. I think back to the first time I actually paid money for a coach, right? Not a mentor or somebody writing the check. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? The thoughts going through your head and the limiting beliefs and all the stuff. They do attack people. And I think they hold people back from taking action. What was it for you as you started getting coaching and mentoring? I'm always curious of this. It's what was maybe one of those first breakthroughs that you had early on? Do you remember back to one of those?
I think the easiest one that I can recall is meeting my clients in person. I had gone from 2011 when I started to really, end of 2014 without ever meeting a client, without ever seeing a client. Everything was just over the phone, and that was it. And so I went to this event, the elite group with Todd Duncan and so many other people, and they were all talking about how, their clients come into their office and they sit down and they, do consultations with them and they present options. And I was like, I live in Orange County. No, people aren't going to come sit and meet with me.
Yeah.
And that was just a story I was telling myself. And so I was like, well, I'll just try it. Right. And the analogy I use is if you called a dentist and they said, well, you could do this over the phone or you can come in the office, everybody would do it over the phone. Right. But they don't give you that option. And so I just stopped giving people the option. And I said, okay, here's the process. And the next step is you come in and we meet and we go over this. And everyone did it. And it completely changed the way that I looked at my clients, at the value we could offer them, and how we could help them long term. And I think that was really the impetus for what we've created, which is the long term commitment to clients. Because I saw what the short term commitment could do, and it was underwhelming. But the long term commitment was not only incredibly valuable for them, but really fulfilling for me. And that was really what I was missing.
Do you think as you look back at that, is that something that maybe increased conversion, or you went deeper with customers where they came back, gave you more referrals? Because people talk about this, but I just love, you originate a lot of loans, right? Worked with a lot of customers. Did that help you?
100%.
Okay.
I mean, there's something very raw about people you've never met coming in, opening up their life to you and talking to you about their emotions. And, you have to operate at a different level, right? You have to elevate your knowledge. You have to elevate your emotional intelligence, your, relational skill sets, all things you don't really need to do with the phone, right? Because you may not ever see them. They may never see you. And it's just very much a transaction. Yeah. And I think that helped me in so many ways because it just forced me to operate at a new level. And then, relationship deepens, value creation happens at a higher level. And then those people want to put more people in front of you. Real estate agents, we invite them to be in those meetings and they can see real time what's happening. And it's like, well, I'm not going to refer to anybody else ever again if this is what happens with my clients. So
that's right.
Now, everybody that I have ever coached or led, this is how we talk to people, right? Either virtually face-to-face or in an office face-to-face. But it's really rare that you'll ever see me just on the phone, right? I'm always like looking at somebody because I just think that now I realize the value in it.
Hey guys, it's Brian here. I hope you are enjoying the show. By the way, if you're an entrepreneur or a solopreneur looking to grow your personal brand, make a bigger impact, maybe increase your leads and grow your revenue, let's help you get started today by connecting up with my friends over at the Brand Builders Group. You've heard me talk about them, but if you're new here, this is definitely the first step to get you started in turning your reputation into revenue. Head over to freebrandcall.com/Brian Covey. Again, to set up your free brand call, go to freebrandcall.com/Brian Covey to set up a free strategy call with one of the team at Brand Builders, and they will dive into your specific goals for how you want to grow your personal brand. I can't wait to hear how it goes. I've sensed that too. Like since COVID and everything happened there, we started to realize the power of video. And I know we all kind of fought it and we can make the jokes about it and all the things, like even our own team meetings, or I'm meeting people now. I'm like, hey, let's just hop on a quick Zoom or a quick Teams call or FaceTime, like whatever. Like seeing someone, I think in our industry, we often struggle. It's so transactional. You know, we've got enough call centers and we've got all this stuff going on, and it can be easily a transactional. And everything I heard you just saying is like, how do we move that to a relational? And if I see you, whether it's in person or even over video, there is a deeper connection. Like there's no arguing it. How have you seen people now going into 2025 take that and move away from transactional? So that's a big thing you promote at Neo, and you guys are very much into more of the, I call it the holistic side, right? Like we're not just trying to get you a mortgage, get you closed, get you the best deal, and then see you later.
Right.
How have you seen the great LOs and what are you looking at for this year for people to move to be more relational, which I think that's what people are craving, is to move away from this, even the old days of the push button, get mortgage thing. I think people want speed, they want tech, but the relationship side, I believe, is elevated. So tell me about that.
Yeah, the word that I think is really dangerous is relationship, because I'm sure you've read the book the challenger salesperson.
Yeah.
Right. And we want relationship. And I was on with Tim Brahim a little while ago, and we talked about this because he was always, very adamant that like whoever has the best relationships wins. And I was like, I don't really agree with that. I think that whoever adds the most value to the client, right, before, during, and after a transaction, with the most of the expectation being after the transaction, right, then you have an opportunity to consistently be in relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what people try and do too often is they try and create like a micro relationship in a 30 to 60 day window, and then expect that that's going to carry on, when it's like, we don't really have time to nurture a relationship. And to be quite honest, most people don't want a relationship with a mortgage professional because they don't see any long-term value in it.
Yeah.
Right. So we have everyone out there, this is real estate agents and mortgage lenders talking about, create better relationships with your clients. It's like, no. Start off with a good relationship, but deliver so much value on a consistent, ongoing, proactive basis that they want to be in a relationship with you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the missing component, right? Is that our industry has never taught us how to be hyper valuable for 30 years after a transaction. Right. And so that's in 2018 when we started to kind of come up with this concept. And it's not being reactively valuable, because we can all do that, right? Call me and I'll refer you to somebody, or I'll do whatever. It's how do you be proactively valuable in a way that really moves the needle and is impactful in someone's life?
Yeah.
And that's been my journey since 2018. That's why Neo exists. And that's why we are constantly looking to evolve, because the consumer needs us to be more valuable. They just don't know it. And they don't expect it.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, because I was hoping you would go there with that, because some things I've heard you share with that, I resonate with that. And it does challenge some of the beliefs and what we're actually told. Like, there's people out there teaching today, like, you got to go deeper and you got to have these great relationships with people. And I'm like, I mean, that's great. Like, if our kids play soccer together, we go to church together, like something like that, like there's probably going to be some relationships. But I've found the same thing, Ryan, and you do a great job of this, is you're on social and you're always educating and adding value and doing those things. And I have personally gravitated towards people like that, where I go, look, they're feeding information that I need in a particular area of my life, and I want to keep them close. And so it's almost like they've attracted me into their world. Yeah. And I'm in their journey, whether that's fitness, wealth. There's a guy I follow in Nashville, and I go, we don't even work together as a client, but I'm so attached to what he shares and what he does that if I were to have a question or make a move or do something, I'm probably calling him.
Yeah.
I think about that for mortgage people. So how do you approach that on social? Because you've leaned into this, and I think this is an area a lot of people still trying to figure out, right? They're still trying to figure out what to do on social. If they're a mortgage professional or a real estate professional, how are you attacking that, given that kind of structure of, we're trying to get people into our ecosystem to follow us and to stay connected?
Yeah. It's been hard because, again, I talk about that horses versus cars analogy, right? Henry Ford said, if you would have asked my clients what they wanted, prior to the car coming out, they would have said faster horses.
That's right.
And that's really what most homeowners or prospective homeowners are asking for. Lower rates, lower costs, faster closing, less friction. Why? Because what else are they going to ask for, right? They don't know that something else exists. And so we need to create a new category within an existing industry, right? Which is, consumers should look to real estate and mortgage professionals as proactive, consistent fiduciaries and advisors who don't just help you when, Mr. and Mrs. Smith make the decision to buy, sell, or finance a home. This team, this real estate and mortgage team, is helping you proactively to take you places from a real estate and financial perspective that you likely wouldn't have gone without them. Mm-hmm. But no one's ever done that, and very few people are talking about it. So it's really hard to get the consumer to want or expect that, right? And so that's really what I'm trying to message, is just, hey, if you're a client, and 92% of America doesn't have financial planners, right? We don't have CPAs, we don't have estate attorneys. We just buy a home, hopefully live in it and pay for it, and maybe that's where we grow our wealth. And we know that wealthy people aren't wealthy because they have money. We know they're wealthy because they have information, right? And they have people in their life that are willing and committed to giving them proactive information and kind of pulling them along, helping them navigate the changes and evolutions in their life. And we can absolutely do that. And I think that we're one of the only industries that can, right? Because people come to us without much knowledge, right? And when the transaction's done, they don't have a game plan for what's next, right? They don't have another goal. Typically, they don't have a strategy to continue to grow and improve their wealth and work on generational wealth planning and making sure that they're protected in an appropriate way. They just don't have that. No. And we've never been taught to offer it. And that's why, when we started Neo, we said, look, I try to do it personally in my own business when I was just running a team, and it's nearly impossible. Yeah. Because you just don't have enough resources. You don't have enough time. You don't have enough money. You don't have enough technology. You don't have enough energy as just an individual production team. But if an organization buys into it, right? If it is in the DNA of the company, and we can use shared services, and we could use collective resources, and we can, top down make the initiative, it becomes way easier to not just think about doing it, but actually executing it. Yeah. And what I found in the last 7 years is that there are thousands of mortgage professionals that would absolutely love and want to be this person for their clients. Yeah. They just don't know how. That's right. So they're not going to make the commitment if they can't execute on it, because nobody wants to be a liar, right? You don't want to tell someone you're going to do something that you're not. And so we're just telling people, we teach classes on it, we coach on it, you can do this, right? You can do it in different ways. Different companies can do it, right? But if we don't change as an industry to be more about growth and proactive guidance, and we sit back and wait for people to come to us and just hand them debt, it's going to be a bumpy road, right? And so we're just trying to help people navigate to what not only is, I think, more appropriate, but more fulfilling.
Love it. It's a big change in mindset, as we look out, and I look at, all the things that are out there today, and we look at how many people have renewed and all of this kind of piece of information of where average production is and this, and yet we're seeing people with record years, and all this is coming at us. You and I had an interesting conversation before we went live and started this. And I love to talk about it because I think a lot of people listening to this, originators today, even the real estate side, man, if I just had more customers, right? If I just had more customers, Ryan, I could do this. I could educate them. I could help them. I could guide them. And I love you and I are on the same page with this. Let's talk about how people can approach that and get more customers in this top of the funnel strategy that we would all love. Like we were joking, we would all love somebody just to call us today, ready to buy, ready to go. Sure. Let's make it happen. Maybe even they're ready to go in the next few months. What we talked about, and I want you to break this down, is the data is not showing, those aren't leads anymore. So let's talk about where you're focusing, what that could look like for people to even open up today and find out there are more customers. They may just not be ready to go now, today.
Yeah. When I started in 2011, I asked my manager at the time, I said, how do I get business? Right? Because I'd always been like a refi call center guy. Yeah. This was my first time ever with a business card going out into the world trying to get my own loans. And he's like, oh, just go to open houses. Realtors are there, clients are there. I was like, okay. So I started making relationships and I started meeting people, and lo and behold, I would get referrals of someone that would say, hey, I was referred to you by Susie, my realtor, and I'm looking to buy a house. And within a week, they could be under contract, right? And within 30 days typically. And then that would happen more and more and more. And so that's what I just always expected. Right? I'm going to go out, make relationships. People are going to refer me people who want to buy homes, and then they're going to refinance, and they're going to refer me refinances. We're going to help our database refi because rates are always fluctuating and they're always low. That's all gone. Right? Our realtors don't have 9 out of 10 conversations they're having. People are telling them they don't want to buy a house. Mm-hmm. And the other one is a maybe. Right? Now, people don't want to sell their homes. Our clients don't want to change their interest rates that start with a 2 or 3. Yeah. So when I look at the reason why, it's because we have a undereducated buyer pool, right? We have an undereducated homeowner pool where people just believe, well, I have a low rate, so that means that I can't or shouldn't move or refi. And sometimes that's true, but sometimes it's not. Mm-hmm. Right? The buyer pool sees rates that start in the 7s and homes that have sticker prices that they don't love, and it's not their forever home. Mm-hmm. So they go online and they look around and they kind of search from afar, but they're never going to connect with a realtor or a lender because they're not ready. right? And the last thing they want is someone calling them 1,000 times, right? If they're not ready, which is typically what we do, right? We've conditioned the consumer to stay away from us until they actually need us. And, when we were looking at the infinite, future, sometime mid last year, when Better approached us with the opportunity to help them, because look, I was looking at our team, and I'm like, we have some of the best mortgage professionals in the country that we get to partner with at Neo.
Yeah. They're
just, like everyone else, right? They're not creating the number of at-bats or opportunities that we have in the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a statistical challenge. Well, Better tells us they're generating 30,000 buyer leads a month. I'm like, there's 30,000 people a month that are asking to buy homes, that are interested, but they're doing it from far away, right? They're not talking to a human, right? They're just starting at the top of the funnel. They're going to Better's website. They're, clicking on an ad that Better has out there. There's a lot of people that have an interest, but then that's where they're stopping, right? Because then they see the numbers, it scares them, and they back out. So I said, well, if we can just get to the top of that funnel, right? If we can insert a professional mortgage advisor at the point of curiosity, right? And then tell that client, hey, we're disinterested in the outcome, right? But it's going to be hard for you to get from, I wonder if I can buy a house, to I really believe that I should. That's hard for a lot of people.
Yeah.
We're here to help you figure out if that makes sense or not. Right. And so our goal is just to get more to the point of curiosity and less to the point of commitment. Because the point of commitment is going to be harder and harder to come by. But the point of curiosity, apparently there's tens of thousands of people a month across the country. And there's way more than that, right? At other, that go to Zillow, that go to, Bankrate or wherever. So as mortgage professionals and as real estate professionals, we need to ask ourselves, how do we connect with the client at point of curiosity and convince them that we're not going to sell them something, right? That we're just going to advise them on if it makes sense, when it makes sense, strategy, timeline, plan, action, because that's what people need the most, right? And that's where we need to realize our jobs have fundamentally changed, right? We used to just take someone who wanted to buy a house. We'd do the paperwork, we'd run the numbers, we'd, educate them on some different loan options. They'd pick one and we'd close the loan.
Yeah.
But we didn't need to do the influence part. We didn't need to influence them to make a highly scary emotional decision to, take on something that feels heavy, that very few people want to do, right? Like 9 out of 10 people used to want to buy a home if you asked them. Now 1 out of 10.
Yeah.
So if everyone's not doing it, right, it takes a lot of work to show someone why they actually should. Right, and convince them that it is a smart decision for them and their family, short-term and long-term. That's our job now.
Yeah.
Right? Our job is not what it used to be. It's education, it's analysis, it's advice, and it's planning. But that starts way at the curiosity point.
Yeah.
Right? We just have to figure out how to get there.
Yeah. Hollywood, I saw a stat today. I'm sure you saw it. Was Zillow funded $7 billion in mortgage loans. And you just think about, holy cow, go back 5 years ago and they weren't really even sort of on our radars, but not really sure if they were going to do it or not, and figure it out. And you go, well, we could probably all agree they don't have the most experienced or tenured loan officers that we all know out there, traditional kind of retail people. Like we went to open houses, we would do sales meetings, all these things. That is not the way a lot of that's been built out. So it just shows you proof of concept. It exists out there. If you can get to the top of the funnel and educate, and that's where I want to take this conversation with you is, what do you think the skills that are required, since the game is changing? And I agree with you. I think you got to be there. What are the skills for that loan officer that they really need to get great at now to play in this space and to be top of the funnel value add?
I mean, we could spend another 5 hours on that conversation.
Let's pick one and go deep, because I have one in my mind, and I'm always just curious, like, what do you think that one is? If somebody's listening going, okay, Brian, like, this is awesome. Well, I'm not good at this yet. What do I need to go get great at?
It's almost an order of action where you have to first start by being able to really try and help an individual without being attached to the outcome. Like that almost has to be first. Because if we're just trying to put a bunch of square pegs in round holes, the client's going to feel it.
Yeah.
Right. They will know if you have sales breath. Right. If everything you do is like, are you ready? Is now like, are you ready to buy now? This makes sense. Like they'll know that because your energy will come off. So you need to get to a place. And I know it's hard because, financially, a lot of us may not be in a place where we can sit back and, just give good advice and see what happens. Right. We kind of need to push people to close loans. That needs to almost be the first thing that changes. Secondarily, needs to be a really high level of financial acuity, right? We need to really understand holistic personal finance and long-term wealth building. And unfortunately, I think our industry is probably one of the least financially literate, which is insane to say, right? But most mortgage lenders have not historically managed money well, right? They haven't really turned monthly income into long-term wealth creation. They don't necessarily, and it's likely because they don't have mentors, they don't have people pouring into them. But
That's right.
Financial literacy is hard to give if you don't have it, right? And that's what people need to know to make the decision to buy a home. They need to see into the future.
Mm-hmm.
So as a mortgage advisor, I need to be able to say, hey, Brian, I know this feels scary today. I know that taking a 7.5% interest rate with a payment that is way higher than what you're paying in rent, with out-of-pocket expense of X, and a home that is not your forever home. I know that feels scary. It feels like it's probably a bad idea. But my job is to not convince you it's a good idea. It's just to educate you on what happens if you don't do this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's to show you what happens, like how the paths diverge from constant renter to starting to create wealth, and then all the things that comes from that.
Yeah.
And you have to talk about a lot of things, right? You have to talk about insurance. You have to talk about, liability management. You have to talk about long-term wealth creation through real estate, parents, children. And it's hard to give that advice if you're not living it, because then you feel like you kind of have imposter syndrome. So I think it would be a two-step process. One is you genuinely need to just look at, I may have 10 conversations today with prospective interested home buyers. It might only make sense for 2 of them to buy today, right? So I need to be okay with the other 8, putting them on a plan and a strategy and a timeline, right? Where they feel supported and cared for, and they know that I'm going to be with them on that timeline. And then the 2 that it makes sense for, I need to be really good at influencing them to do something that's scary, right? But I know in my heart that they're going to thank me for it years from now.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then the financial literacy aspect of it comes in.
Dude, that's a great response. I think, Ryan, that's for people listening out there. I hope they don't look at that and just go, like that is a playbook for many of you right now that I just conversations I'm having is the wrong mindset, to your point of you can just smell the desperation. And so the way that they're approaching that customer probably is turning people off. If they were to slow down and ask better questions, that could help you today. If you're listening, actually stay in the game. So they don't call somebody else and go, man, I just felt pressured. I'm gonna go somewhere else. Like being that value add. And we've all heard it. It's really hard to give advice on things that you've never done in your life. And so for the people out there, if you're doing well today, I love what you shared, Ryan, and a mentor told me this years ago. Unfortunately, after I'd made enough mistakes and been through the 07, 08, and then 15 and 18 and some of that stuff, like you learn, manage your money exceptionally well, whatever you're making and living below your means. And then if you're able to go and invest in real estate, imagine the experience and the advantage it gives you. And I remember I was scared, like you're going through that conversation, Ryan, I'm thinking the first time we invested in real estate, it didn't go so well. And so then I come back and I'm like, well, I need to do it again because I need to learn this. The more times that you do these kind of calculated moves, I loved what you shared there because that just makes you a better advisor. When someone calls for a second home or investment property, which are happening, you actually have expertise. And so get out there, and today you may not be able to go actually purchase it today, but what a great goal to have to actually plan for that and to go learn about it, understand it, to advise. And you mentioned one thing that I want to kind of hit on, and I was hoping you'd bring this up, is that podcast I was telling you I was listening to with Ed Milet, right? And I'm listening to this and he's talking about, if I just had one skill today, if I could go back, and he's financial services, WFG and all that. And he talked about it would be the art of communication and persuasion and influence. And he said, not what you guys probably think of like convincing people to do things they don't need to do.
Right.
It's the absolute opposite. It's helping people, to your point, be educated, informed, and make a decision that they can see all the pros and cons. What will happen if I do it? What will happen if I don't? What am I giving up? What could it look like in 5 to 10 years? Because your point, we've bought a couple of not forever homes.
Yeah.
That's
and
part of the game plan.
Each one of them for me was scary. Every time I bought a piece of property, I always thought, I don't know if I should, this feels like it might be a stretch. It might be a reach. And I look back, within a matter of a year or two, and I'm like, well, that was a great idea. Right. But it takes looking back, and we're not good at looking back. Right. We only look forward, and it's, the unknown is scary. So if we can be an advisor to help someone, like my financial planner, one of my great friends, people always say, well, what a financial planner, like, they just oversee your money. They put it in mutual funds or whatever, and it just grows. And I say, look, good financial managers, wealth managers, they manage the emotion of money. Mm-hmm. And so, a good example, COVID hits. Now, I was one of the guys in 08, 09, and I was luckily very young, but had no money, right? Upside down in my house, in credit card debt. They took my car. And I was, 25, 26. But I vowed, and I saw everything on sale, right? Everything was 50% off, and I couldn't do anything with it. And I was like, I'm never going to be in that position again. So the next time that there's a downturn, I'm going to be ready. So I'd been stockpiling and saving and saving and saving. And, COVID hits. And my financial planner calls me and he says, Ryan, now's the time to deploy it. And I'm like, are you crazy? The world's ending, right? Like the stock market is tanking. Like, I'm not going to catch a falling sword. He goes, it's not going to fall forever. He's like, this thing will, like, the bleeding will stop. You need to start dollar cost averaging in now. Like, things are going to go. And I was like, okay. And I was scared, but one of the best financial decisions I've ever made is to take, but he didn't manage my money. He managed my emotion. He managed my fear. And that was like an eye opener for me. Like, that's what we need to do. Right? Because if it wasn't for fear or money, everyone would own a home, right? We'd have 100% home ownership. Right. But 30,000 people are scared to buy a home right now. They're curious. They want to know, but they're not willing to engage me, you, or a realtor because they're not ready. Yeah, man. What an opportunity we have, right? Dude, I love the lessons you've shared because I hope people listening understand, like, they see a guy like you, or they might see me or somebody out there and they go, oh man, they just figured it out. They've had it easy. And it's like, if you were to hang out with us long enough and we could have this podcast go on, you would hear all the mistakes, all the things. And even the best decisions I've made, I always say, is I had someone in my corner that was wiser than me, that I ran that by, because that fear oftentimes tries to overtake us. And Ryan, I just appreciate you sharing and being honest about these things, but also we got very tactical with people that you could leave this, and I hope you guys were taking notes and you go, okay, I need to go back and work on my mindset, my approach, my top of funnel strategy, how I approach my business, how I maybe work in person more. You've got things that you can go back today and deploy in your business to help you get from this point A you're at to your point B. So as we wrap, my friend, is there anything that you want to share that we didn't ask, or that I should have asked you? I always love to kind of grab that at the end in case I've forgotten something that's on your heart. Obviously, my assumption is a lot of mortgage and real estate professionals will watch this. The thing that I'm trying to help people with probably the most this year is optimization, and just making sure that every aspect of your business is optimized. And that's a really challenging thing to do alone, because I read one of your posts the other day when you talked about thinking that you kind of knew it all, right? That you had it all figured out, right? And then life humbled you and the industry humbles you, and the same thing has happened to me multiple times in my career. And optimization of your business or your life really needs to be from another perspective. And it's really hard for us when we're in it to zoom out and say with certainty, right? And with humility and vulnerability, okay, I don't have that figured out. Right? All right. I can get better at lead generation, or I'm not 100% confident that this financial model makes sense in my business, or my value proposition doesn't seem to be very different than others, right? It's very similar. It's service, it's closing on time. It's like, so I would just encourage anyone watching this, and Brian, you're a great teacher of this, right? So I'm sure you're helping a lot of people with this, but look at your business, and there's 5 key areas, which is value proposition, financial model, technology and scale, community, and I think the fourth one, lead generation. Those 5 pillars of a mortgage practice, you just need to look at them and ask yourself, like, am I optimized in each one of those areas? And if you are, the next 10 years might be the best you've ever had. Mm-hmm. Right? The reason why we're seeing people set records is partly because they're really good and they're getting better, but also there's only 20% of us left. Right? And there's still an addressable market, which means that we all should be able to take more market share. But the people who optimize those 5 areas, they're going to take market share in a very unfair way. And like the name of this podcast is Competitive Edge, right? Like if you optimize those 5 areas of your business, you will have such an enormous competitive edge that your competition will not keep up, and market share will find you. Right? Cody Hardridge talks about demand pull. He was in the military, and it's like when you get so good, you'll just start attracting things to you. You won't need to go out and make them happen. And I believe that the next couple years is going to be a separator in that regard, where some people will just create so much demand pull that their business will grow without them even having to do a lot of proactive work. They'll be taking a lot of what comes in, but if you're not optimizing those 5 areas, it's going to be a tough road. And so I would just, encourage, reach out to Brian, reach out to me, reach out to your mentor, your leader, whomever it is. Just make sure those 5 areas are buttoned up.
Yeah. See, what a great way to land this. And Ryan, thank you, man. If you guys have not connected with Ryan, we're going to include links to him there, and you can make sure you connect up with his journey. Reach out to him, reach out to me, reach out to somebody. If you leave this and it sparks something in you and you go, you know what, I need to get better at this. You know what, I know there's another level, another gear for me. You know what, I've had that competitive edge before, but maybe I've kind of lost some of that and I'm not competing every day. I'm just kind of participating. Guys, this is the chance, as Ryan shared. I believe this wholeheartedly. The next 10 years is the best 10 years I think we're going to see for all of us that have been in it. We're committed to it. And we're actually going to see opportunity, not just because people are leaving, but I think there's going to be this flight to quality of people like what Ryan's talked about, what he and his team are doing, what we're doing. And you're going to want to be part of that, right? So if that's you, reach out, let us know how we can help you. And then secondly, if this has resonated with you and kind of giving you some hope, inspiration, some motivation, something there, leave us a review on the podcast, as we love those. Share it with your friends, share it with your referral partners, share it with people out there. As I believe getting messages like this out, where 2 leaders come together, they collaborate, they share ideas. This is how we move our industry forward. I want you guys to be part of that. So Ryan, my friend, thank you for coming on and just being an absolute value add, as you always do.
Man, happy to be here. Thank you for having me on, and love the conversation. Hope we'll do it again soon.
Absolutely. Guys, well, until the next episode, go out there, do something great. Make sure you take action from today's episode and go implement something in your life and in your business. Don't forget, leave us a review, share this podcast with friends. That's how we've grown it. That's how we plan on continuing, is that word of mouth and those referrals. So take care. We'll catch you on the next episode. See ya.